Adobe Encore CS4 is a full-featured application that has the ability to create high-definition Blu-ray discs in addition to standard DVDs. We're going to start this Blu-ray project in Adobe Premiere Pro. Dynamic Link is a feature of Adobe Production Premium that allows projects from one program to be opened in another application without having to render it first. Currently, in Premiere Pro, I have opened the Double Identity project. Note the names of the sequences here in the project panel. We'll see these sequences again momentarily in Encore. Using Dynamic Link, I can use this project in Encore and burn it to Blu-ray without a time-consuming rendering process. Let's now switch over to Encore. In Encore, I've already created a project for authoring DVDs, but now want to switch my project to a Blu-ray disc project. To do that, go to the File menu and select Project Settings. In the Basic tab of the Project Settings dialog box, simply change the authoring mode from DVD to Blu-ray. You can then select a codec, either MPEG-2 or H.264. If you want to adjust more options for your Blu-ray project, such as frame rate or dimensions, you'll need to create a brand new project. I'm going to do that by selecting Cancel, and then File, New, Project. In the New Project dialog, I'm going to select Blu-ray as my authoring mode. Once you've selected Blu-ray as your authoring mode, you'll have several different pixel dimensions to choose from. You can choose 1920 by 1080 with interlaced frames, 1440 by 1080 with interlaced frames, or you can also choose 1280 by 720 with progressive frames. You may also adjust the frame rate, 23.976, often abbreviated as 24 frames per second, 29.97 frames per second, or 59.94 frames per second, often referred to as 60 frames per second. And then I will select OK. We'll now use Dynamic Link to import a sequence we looked at earlier on in Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm going to go to File, Adobe Dynamic Link, Import Premiere Pro Sequence. You can also simply drag and drop the Premiere sequence from Premiere into Encore and drop it in the Encore project panel. On the left-hand side of this dialog box, navigate to a Premiere Pro project and select it. Once selected from the left-hand side, the right-hand side will display all of the assets and content of that project, including its sequences. Select one of the Adobe Premiere Pro sequences to import and click OK. From here, we can select it in our project panel and put it into a timeline as we would any other video asset. High-definition or HD assets can also be imported into Encore. I'm going to double-click in my project panel, navigate to an HD asset, and select Open. Next, I'll bring in a PSD file to use as a menu. To do that, I'm going to right-click in the project panel, select Import as, Menu, and navigate to a PSD file to use as a menu, and select Open. HD assets can also be created from scratch here in Adobe Encore. HD menus that ship with Encore are denoted with an HD here in the Library panel. Click once to preview, double-click to add the menu to your project, and open the menu in the menu viewer. At this point, I need to create navigation so that the menus, timelines, and other assets in my Encore project can be seen by users of my Blu-ray disc. The flowchart is an efficient way to create navigation, view project structure, and even do some troubleshooting. The flowchart can be accessed via a tab next to the menu viewer or from the window menu. Encore CS4 has added a couple new features to help you work with the flowchart. You can now use this slider to control the zoom of the flowchart. Drag it to the left to reduce the view to see more of your project, or drag it to the right to zoom in closer. Additionally, as you hold your mouse over an asset, a tooltip will pop up indicating its name. Currently, this timeline is set up as my first play object, but I actually want my disk to begin with this menu. To do that, I go to my disk at the top and click and drag from the right-hand side to my menu. In the flowchart, the buttons of a particular menu show up below its name. I can create navigation here by linking from one of the buttons to assets here down at the bottom of the flowchart. Adobe Encore CS4 also allows you to create pop-up menus for Blu-ray discs. Pop-up menus are menus that pop up on the screen when viewing content on Blu-ray discs, and the user presses the pop-up menu button on the remote control. This allows users to view menus and select different viewing options without having to stop playback to go back to the main menu. These menus can also be semi-transparent. Remember that this is a feature that only Blu-ray discs are capable of. DVDs do not support this behavior. To create a pop-up menu, select the menu you wish to use. In my case, I want to import a new menu to use as a pop-up menu. To do that, I could right-click and select Import as Pop-up Menu. But I'm going to show you how to do this with a menu that already exists. So to do that, I'm going to select Import as Menu. I'm going to navigate to the menu that I wish to use as a pop-up menu. To convert this menu to a pop-up menu, select it in the Project panel, go over to the Properties panel, select the Pop-up tab, and then enable Set as Blu-ray Pop-up Menu. Notice that the background layer disappears. Only content on button layers remains visible. We'll also need to associate this pop-up menu with a timeline, because pop-up menus are used while content in a timeline is playing. To do this, select a timeline in the Project panel, go to the Properties panel, and select a pop-up menu from the Set Pop-up Menu dropdown. Links for the pop-up menu are created as you would create links for a regular menu. For example, I could select a button in the menu viewer and click and drag the pick whip to create a link. To preview what your pop-up menu would look like over a video, select the pop-up menu in the Project panel, go over to the Properties panel, select the Pop-up tab, and change the background timeline to the timeline that you want it to pop up over. From here, you could also adjust the frame that you're going to use to preview what it looks like over a given frame. Once you've completed the disk authoring process, you can burn a disk by going to the Build panel. Encore can also burn dual-layer Blu-ray discs capable of storing up to 50 gigabytes of data. To burn a Blu-ray disc, make sure that Blu-ray is selected from the Format drop-down list. Select Blu-ray disc from the Output drop-down, and if you have a Blu-ray disc burner hooked up to your computer, you can click the Build button to begin the transcoding and burning process, and your Blu-ray disc is done.